On this episode, we'll discuss how to avoid reflections in glasses and shadows from glasses in portrait photography, and I present to you the Tips from the Top Floor Desert Island Challenge. This episode is supported by Jimdo.com, the fastest and easiest way to build a professional website for your business or your personal projects. Show off your photography in style and build your website for free. If you want to upgrade, save 20% on your first year with the pro and business packages with discount code TOPFLOOR at jimdo.com/topfloor. That's GIMDO.com/topfloor. Use checkout code TOPFLOOR. This is Tips on the Top Floor, episode 810 for Thursday, February the 15th, 2018.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, hello, and welcome to Tips from the Top Floor, the podcast about all things photography. I'm Chris, and I'm recording this as usual in my studio in the Viewfinder Villa right outside the gates of Hanover in Germany. Hey, how has the last week been treating you? Had a great weekend? I've spent it making sauerkraut. No kidding. Yeah, Germans eat sauerkraut. That's one thing we're known for. Most Germans don't make their own sauerkraut. This is the second time we have made our own sauerkraut, and it is just so much better. Yeah, that's probably the most German thing you'll hear from me for this week. But yeah, no kidding. This is amazing. It's not too hard to make. Anyway, the photography. Just a quick reminder: if you haven't watched it yet, the Slack challenge review from last week's episode is up on YouTube, so you can watch it and watch me discuss the entries and see the photos. The video is at tfttf.com/809video. And it's also linked from the show notes. And also the wide angle book is up for pre-order on Amazon. Let the publisher know that you want this book, because that will just, make it so much more exciting for them and for me. And it just helps my standing with the publisher if there's a lot of pre-orders. And it's at tfttf.com/WA-book, wide angle book, WA book. Anyway, let's get into the show. The other day, I asked a question on Twitter. The question was, if you had to choose one end of the focal range to stick with for the rest of your life, would it be wide angle or telephoto? Now that's hypothetical, but I kind of love these thought experiments. Basically, it's a variation of the theme. If you could only bring 5 things to a desert island, what would you bring? Now, for photography, I think it really pays to be able to make decisions, and this will be one of them, right? And I really recommend everyone to make that experience at least once themselves. Now, I'm not of course I'm not saying get shipwrecked on a desert island with only one lens, but maybe try it by sticking with one focal length for, let's say, a week or even a weekend. Just on Friday night, you decide which focal length it will be for the rest of the weekend, for the next 2 days. Saturday, Sunday, only one focal length. If all you have is a zoom lens, then use a piece of sticky tape and fix the zoom lens in place. Fix the zoom ring in place for those 2 days. Trust me, it's a really rewarding experience that will make you a better photographer. And then on the next weekend, try the same, but with another focal length. Maybe wide angle for one weekend and telephoto on the other. It's really a great way to help boost your creativity. Try it out. Let's call it the Tips from the Top Floor. The Tips from the Top Floor Desert Island Challenge. And I want to see some of those photos. Send me some of those photos. So back to the quick poll, the quick poll I did on Twitter the other day. And it's of course completely non-scientific, asking people which lens they want to stay for, because it's biased on my filter bubble, on the people who follow me, and it's probably most people who follow me on Twitter, most of them also know that I'm a great fan of wide angle, and that I've even written a book about it. So the result is not surprising. The result was clearly in favor of wide angle by about a third. What also happened is something that always happens when you ask a question on Twitter. Some people either don't properly read the questions or they read it but still answer a different question because they answer what they want to answer. But I guess that's normal. That doesn't really bother me. So thanks all who answered. I will link the tweet in the show notes so you can look at the answers yourself. Maybe you want to provide your own answer. And yep, the link to that tweet is going to be in the show notes. This week's show is supported by Jimdo.com. Jimdo is the one-stop shop for you to build your website, no matter if for your business, for a personal project, for your blog, or your photography portfolio. It's literally as easy as choosing one of the professional designs, uploading your photos, adding some copy, and you're done. All fully customizable so you can make it your own unique website and without having to know anything about HTML or CSS. You can do all that from your computer or your smartphone or tablet. Yep, their iOS and Android app lets you build your complete website while you're out and about. Add an online shop or a blog or a stunning photo gallery, and with their responsive design, your website will look amazing on all kinds of screen sizes, on computers, and tablets, and smartphones, without you having to do anything special for it. Also, Google loves Jimdo sites. All sites have search engine optimization built in from the ground, as well as HTTPS secure connections. It's all in the package. And with Jimdo Pro, they even throw in your own individual domain for the first year. Now, let's look at the best thing, the pricing. First of all, you can build a free Jimdo site to try out most of the features, and you can keep that free site. Then, if you want to enable full features and get your custom domain and email address, their Pro package comes at just €5 per month. That's about half of the price of major competitors. And not just that, Jimdo has also cut a special deal for all you FOTTF. That's what I'm going to call you from now on. FOTTF, Friends of the Top Floor. If you use Top Floor as the code on checkout, you get 20% off your first year of Jimdo Pro or Jimdo Business. Go to jimdo.com/topfloor to find out more and to get 20% off your first year of Jimdo Pro or Jimdo Business. That's GIMDO.com/topfloor and offer code TOPFLOOR on checkout. One last thing. If you've built a photography website using Jimdo, send me the link and I will review it on one of the next episodes of Tips from the Top Floor. Jimdo.com/topfloor, and I thank them so much for their support. It's also time for a quick thank you to all of you out there, you who support this show whichever way you can. Thanks to the anonymous donor who just gave 5 hours of audio processing time via the Auphonic link that will guarantee another 5 good-sounding episodes. Thanks to the 6 patrons on Liberapay, making a difference every week. And of course, thanks to the 33 patrons supporting Tips from the Top Floor on Patreon. You guys are amazing. And if you want to support Tips from the Top Floor, it doesn't have to be monetary. There are plenty of other ways to support the show. Go to tfttf.com/support. Thank you so much.
Hey Chris, this is Benjamin here. Thank you very much for your podcast. I've been learning a lot from it over the last few years and months. Also, thank you very much for your recent review of one of my pictures. Today, I'm calling in because I have a question regarding portrait photography of models who wear glasses. I'm just coming from a session and I look through the photos and I have to say that I'm quite disappointed in how many pictures that did not turn out as I hoped. Sometimes I have unwanted reflections on the glasses that are really disturbing. Sometimes a shadow of the frame is going through the eyes or is really close to the eyes, and I was wondering if you can share some tips and tricks during shooting or during post-processing in order to tackle that situation nicely. Thank you very much and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Benjamin. Portrait photography and glasses is always difficult to mix because, you have these exact two issues, reflections and shadows. And Let me talk about reflections first, okay? First of all, where do they come from and how to avoid them? Glass reflects. Glass is not 100% clear. Some light gets reflected. And with window glass, that's about 4% per surface. So it's like 8% of the light that doesn't make it through. And that's at a perpendicular angle. More light reflects when the angle is above 90 degrees. I think that's called an obtuse angle. If you stand in front of a building and look up at the windows upstairs, the sky reflects really nicely off them. It's really hard to look inside the room because it reflects just so much more when the angle is larger than 90 degrees. And most glasses these days are coated in non-reflective coating, so less light gets reflected, but it still is enough light to get in the way of some portraits. And the coating, believe it or not, adds its own set of problems because the coatings often add a color tint to the light. So it's not just white light. Sometimes it's violet, sometimes it's green. And depends on the coating. It's an interference effect that happens there. Now, of course, the best way to avoid reflections is to angle the glass accordingly. Simple as that. With your model, that means to direct them accordingly. Tilt your head slightly more to the left, to the right, up, down. That's your responsibility as the photographer. You have to watch out for these things. Now, that might be counter to other directions that you need to give in order to make them look nice, like move the head this way so I don't see as much of a double chin, and move the head this way so the ears look nicer, or the eyes or the nose or something. There's a conflict sometimes, and you have to solve it. As a photographer, it's your job to do that. Now, here are some tricks that you can employ. For example, people with longer hair, you can tilt the glasses slightly downwards so the reflections of the light don't really, they don't really show because most of the light comes from slightly above. So you tilt the glasses slightly down by pushing up the temples of the glasses under the hair. To a certain degree, that works. You could also change the direction of the light source. Problem being, if you lower the light sources too much, then light starts to look unnatural. So again, there's a bit of a conflict. Sometimes it's okay to take the glasses off, but that's only like if the person doesn't always wear glasses and if the glasses are not important for the shot. Often people who have to wear glasses, the glasses are part of their personality, so taking the glasses off, it's a bit of a problem. Some photographers take the glasses out of the frame. Like take a little screwdriver, open up the frame, take the glasses out. That is, believe it or not, a solution that works really well. But of course, only if the glasses aren't too strong. If you have a very strong prescription glasses, then that changes the shape of your eyes and that becomes part of you. And if then the glasses aren't there, that change in how the eye looks isn't there anymore, and that looks unnatural too. Only, of course, it only works with some kind of frames. There are certain frames that just doesn't work with, like frameless frames that would look weird if this little nylon thing dangles around now. But yeah, this is a method that does look surprisingly good. Also, of course, reflections that are non-metallic, like on glass, can be reduced using a polarizer, like a polarizing filter on your camera. It's only effective at certain angles, and it will change the look of the scene, the color saturation, and so on. So that's a thing that I typically don't do. Or some photographers take this to the next level by polarizing their studio strobes. So they put polarizing filter in front of the strobes. You can buy them in bigger foils and gels. And then they put an opposite polarizer on the camera, and that takes out a lot of this reflection, but that's overkill. I've yet to try this, and if I was a portrait photographer and I was doing this every day, then that might be something to look into. But for the occasional portrait session, no. You can, of course, try to do something about this in post-production. You can try to clone out the reflections in editing. That's difficult, though. Sometimes it's really impossible, especially if the reflections go over the pupils. And then, cloning a pupil from one side of the face to the other does not look natural. So this is a tough one. You might also be in luck and have two very similar frames, like a shot 1 second where the head is tilted slightly more to that side and doesn't have the reflections, and then the shot that does have the reflections. So you could borrow the eyes from another shot. But that again comes with its own set of issues and requires a lot of editing. So sometimes that works, doesn't always work. So in short, to get rid of reflections on glasses, you best do it in camera. You keep an eye on the glasses and you direct your model accordingly. So that's the reflection taken care of. Let's talk about the shadows and the frame shadows. Where do they come from? How do we avoid them? Well, the shape of a shadow pretty much comes down to the size and the shape of the light source. And just look back. When's the last time you've tried some like shadow play with your hands? And then that only works if you have a point light source, a flashlight maybe. Or in photography and you use a flash, it might be a bare flash without like a diffuser in front of it. Just a flash pointing at something. That is a point light source. Or go outside in the sun and look at your shadow. The bright sunlight, the direct sunlight makes a very hard shadow. So the bigger the light source, the softer the shadow. Look at people's faces next time you're out in bright sunlight, and look at people with glasses and see what kind of shadows their glasses make on their faces. And then do the same thing on an overcast day. In that light, the clouds are like one huge light source above you. It's like this big softbox that you're sitting in. Much bigger than the tiny sun, and then in turn the shadows become really soft. They pretty much disappear, and then even really thick-rimmed glasses won't really cast a shadow under such a light. So in the studio, that means make your light source bigger, either by using an umbrella or a softbox, or if you don't have any of those, bounce your flash off a white wall or a white piece of foam core. That was it for this episode of Tips from the Top Floor. Thanks again for your support, and thanks to Jimdo.com for supporting this episode. If you want to participate in the Tips from the Top Floor Desert Island Challenge, spend an entire weekend with only one focal length and then post your favorite photo from that weekend on Twitter with the hashtag TFTTF Desert Island. That's TFTTF Desert Island. I'll link that in the show notes, and I will pick a few and review them here on one of the next episodes. And if you post, maybe add a few words how the challenge went for you and what it did for your photography. You know what? Maybe even send me a quick voicemail with your experience, record it on your smartphone and send it to voice@tfttf.com. That's voice@tfttf.com. I'd love to hear how the Desert Island Challenge went for you. Music for the show by Jeff Smith, silent partner in Hans-Peter Kagrut, publishing and Slack Challenges by Release Pixie Matt, Rasta Armstead, and Slack Invitations by Chief Invitation Officer CIO Rusty Russ. I remember that I told you that. My name is Chris Marquardt. Follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Chris Marquardt. Chris MarQuardt. And of course, go out and take amazing photos, especially with the current challenge. Be nice to each other, and happy shooting.